My dad fired me for being lazy, so I deleted the code that ran his entire factory. The security guard looked apologetic as he ripped the badge off my lanyard, but my father just stood there, checking his Rolex. It's nothing personal, kid, Dad said, not even looking me in the eye. We need efficiency. Kyle is ready to step up as VP of operations. You just sit at that computer all day playing with spreadsheets. We need boots on the ground. I looked at Kyle, my older brother, who was leaning against the doorframe wearing a hard hat he had never actually worn on the factory floor. He smirked, taking a bite of an apple. Don't worry, little bro, Kyle laughed, a wet, crunching sound. I'll make sure the machines keep humming. It's just clicking a mouse, right? You're making a mistake, I said, my voice low. I don't just click a mouse. I wrote the script that synchronizes the CNC machines with the shipping manifest. If you fire me, who manages Atlas? Atlas? Dad scoffed. That little program. Kyle can figure it out. He took a computer class in community college. Now, get out. You're disrupting the workflow. I didn't argue. I didn't scream. I felt a cold, sharp clarity settle in my chest. I picked up my box of personal items, a stapler, a stress ball, and the external hard drive that contained the source code for the entire factory's nervous system, and walked out. They thought Atlas was just part of the factory machinery. They didn't realize it was a proprietary script I wrote on my own time, on my own hardware, and licensed to the company for free because I was a good son. I went home, made a sandwich, and waited. At 2 a.m., my phone started buzzing. It vibrated off the nightstand and hit the floor. I picked it up. 15 missed calls from Dad, 22 from Kyle, 4 from the night shift foreman. I answered the foreman. Dave, man, you gotta help. The foreman yelled over the sound of grinding gears. The machines, they stopped. All of them. The robotic arms are frozen mid-weld. The conveyor belt is dead. We're losing 1,000 units an hour. I don't work there anymore, Jerry, I said calmly. Talk to Kyle. He's the VP. Kyle is puking in the trash can. Jerry screamed. Just tell us the password. I can't, I said. I revoked the license key. Good night. I hung up and turned my phone off. I slept like a baby. When I woke up at 9 a.m., there was a pounding on my front door so hard I thought the wood would splinter. I opened it with a cup of coffee in hand. Dad was standing there, his face a map of red splotches. Kyle was behind him, looking pale and terrified. You hacked us. Dad roared, pushing his way into my hallway. I'm calling the FBI. You sabotaged the mainframe. I didn't hack anything, I said, taking a sip of coffee. I just stopped providing a service I was no longer employed to provide. Atlas requires a user authentication every 24 hours. When you fired me, you fired the user. Fix it. Kyle begged, grabbing my shoulder. We have the Walmart order due on Friday. If we miss the shipment, we breach the contract. That's $1 million penalty. I know, I smiled. I read the contract. I wrote the contract. What do you want? Dad hissed, his pride battling his panic. You want your job back? Fine. You're hired. Same salary. No, I said. That's when the real bombshell dropped. I don't want a job, I continued, leaning against the wall. I want a consulting contract. And my rate isn't $25 an hour anymore. I pulled a pre-typed contract out of the drawer by the door. I had written it weeks ago, just in case. My rate is $500 an hour, with a minimum 40-hour retainer paid up front. And the $20,000 reconnection fee for the software license. That's extortion. Dad screamed, spit flying. That's $40,000. That's the price of efficiency, I corrected. You have 10 minutes before the afternoon shift starts. Every hour the line is down costs you 10 grand. Do the math. Dad looked at Kyle. Kyle looked at his shoes. Dad pulled out his checkbook. His hand shook so hard he could barely sign his name. He ripped the check out and threw it at my chest. You're dead to me, he whispered. Pleasure doing business with you, I said, picking up the check. I walked over to my laptop, typed in 4 lines of code, and hit enter. It's back up, I said. Now get out of my house. They left. 2 months later, the company lost the Walmart contract anyway because Kyle tried to optimize my code and deleted the database. They went bankrupt last week. I used the consulting money to start my own firm. Am I the villain for holding the factory hostage, or did they bankrupt themselves the moment they decided my work was worthless?